Star Citizen, a game first publicly revealed on Kickstarter in 2012, a long time ago. I heard that the world should have ended around that time, and maybe it should, because it was the reveal of Star Citizen, a game in which regular people invested over $400 million. So, you're probably wondering, what is this game and have you played it, heard of it, or is it probably one of the top games out there right now? Well, as you would expect, their Kickstarter campaign was the most successful, record-breaking campaign, and it promised gamers an ultimate sci-fi experience. When the Star Citizen was publicly revealed on Kickstarter in 2012, it felt like a dream come true for many gamers. Star Citizen's record-breaking crowdfunding campaign seemingly left it in an ideal position to fulfill some ambitious promises by becoming not just the ultimate sci-fi gaming experience, but a title funded and developed outside what was seen as traditional studio systems. Years later though, Star Citizen's journey has practically become defined by its controversies, as the debate rages on regarding nearly every aspect of this title. It becomes increasingly clear that the quality of Star Citizen as a video game has almost taken a back seat to the discussion about the game's history, funding, where its development stands, and how the end of Star Citizen will shape to be. While it's nearly impossible to summarize every complaint, concern, and fear raised about this game, I will try to explain the journey of Star Citizen and explain what it is today. Star Citizen is a multiplayer space trading and combat simulation game. Imagine a game where there is exploration, combat, huge star systems without loading screens, and it gives you full control over life in space. In Star Citizen, you will interact with a mixture of procedurally generated and handcrafted worlds, and the plan is to also interact with thousands of other players in the same server. And that is the main premise that Chris Roberts and Cloud Imperium Games are trying to do. Star Citizen is not like a regular MMO. There is no skill points, no classes, no limitations based on roles or abilities. To start, you can access randomly generated mission contracts. In here, you will find a different set of all sorts of missions, from bounty hunter missions to delivery missions to mining valuable minerals in some sudden mining sessions. Credits earned can be used to upgrade ship components, rent new ships, or buy new ships. And I have to agree, the game does look impressive, and the systems that are implemented and working are looking great. The options to explore are endless, and the different experiences you have playing are truly something wonderful. Star Citizen is known for trying to break the cycle of current gaming, introducing new technologies into gaming that we haven't seen before. For example, the game has very good voiceover and faceover to enhance the experience talking to your friends, crewmates, or NPCs. These technologies allow your webcam to track your face movement in real time, and it animates your character in-game. They want to create a universe that is completely without loading screens, a bunch of stars and thousands of players all in one server. It is in early stages, but it really shows what Star Citizen wants to be and what it's trying to achieve. But that is some things from the positive side. There's also some issues which is expected considering this game is an alpha state. The AI does seem to have issues in being any sort of a threat. Also, there is a lot of server crashing, and following their roadmap they are fixing any problems that are showing up in the game. Also, the performance does seem to be one of the big problems the game has, but it's far better than before and it has improved tremendously. But there are still so many bugs in the game, so much crashing, and it's kinda difficult to bring friends into the game if the game does not run how it's supposed to. Random crashes and black screens of death are game breaking and experience ruining. I think it justifies the frustrations I've seen from people in the community. Even the updates are not reaching the wanted goal. This is the newest 3.16 patch. 3 out of 18 planned items actually made it into the release. But other than Star Citizen multiplayer game, there's also Squadron 42, the single-player experience set in the world of Star Citizen. Squadron 42 was announced originally in a Kickstarter campaign in 2012 together with Star Citizen. After the implementation of more stretch goals, the release was subsequently postponed. In Squadron 42 you take on the role of a rookie UEE Navy combat pilot. You battle in the stars and face-to-face as you seamlessly transition between dogfighting and ground combat. Serve aboard a massive Navy capital ship as your custom character interacts and builds relationships with a living, breathing crew. Squadron 42's A-list Hollywood cast include Mark Hamill, Gillian Anderson, and Gary Oldman. It was revealed in October 2015, and most recent guidance on a Squadron 42 launch came in August 2019. and said a beta would be coming in the third quarter of 2020. RSI had promoted 2016 as the launch year for Squadron 42's full release, but pulled that forecast back at CitizenCon in October 2016 and hasn't given a full launch release since then. Roberts said that Squadron 42 will be done when it's done and will not be released just to make date. He also said RSI would not show any of the Squadron 42's gameplay locations or assets for the beta because the game is too far from a full launch to begin a marketing campaign. If we show the non-spoiler gameplay now, that's prime footage and gameplay that could have been used closer to release, Roberts said. And considering the game releases we are getting now, it is safe to say that it does make sense what Roberts is saying. Tons of game studios are releasing unfinished titles and half-made games, but it begs the question, if you announced the release in 2016, how come we are still not getting any news on the game 6 years later? And how long were you actually away from completing the game in the first place? It all seems a bit sketchy. Roberts likes to use some very corporate words when talking to the press, which to me makes him a bit disingenuous, considering the investors are just regular people. There is definitely a balance between thinking that this title is better since it does not have a publisher and the chances that it needs to be rushed is not existent. There's no suit people pressuring them to publish their game, but they are taking a bit too much time while expecting for people to dump more money on buying random items. My opinion is that I would never back anything like this. Paying a certain amount for something that you might or might not get in the future is a little bit of a gray area for me. But don't be mistaken, this is not fraud. Roberts really is working on a game, but it's his incompetence and mismanagement that is actually on a big scale here. The waste is fueled by easy money raised through crowdfunding, a Wild West territory nearly free of regulators and rules. Creatives are in charge here, not profit-driven suits, and a lot of money was pocketed by the promoters. You can follow every update and change in the game on their website if you want to know where the money is going and what they're doing, and their YouTube channel. They are transparent in what they are doing, but it wasn't always like this. In 2020, they released a statement explaining why Star Citizen didn't have a traditional development roadmap. They said, "When we first embarked on this roadmap journey 2 years ago, our goal was to make communication more transparent, specific, and insightful. For all of you who helped make Star Citizen and Squadron 42 possible. While this goal remains unchanged, we found out that the format in which we've attempted to visualize our progress does not match the approach we are taking in the development of Squadron 42. Since that statement was released, the Star Citizen team has published roadmaps that offer a bit better idea of what is actively being worked on. But even with those updates, we are still dealing with the same concerns many fans have had since 2012. Many Star Citizen fans, backers, and onlookers are still unsure when Star Citizen will ever be released, and if it's even going to be released at all. Communication regarding Star Citizen's development has gotten somewhat more frequent, but the game's development process is still often defined by often unexplained or poorly explained delays. As said in the beginning, the title is heavily linked to a number of controversies. Some are more interesting than others, but we'll go through some of the most important ones. Star Citizen's microtransactions and pay-to-win claims. Microtransactions and outside purchase opportunities are generally pretty controversial, but the debate about Star Citizen's transaction system is somewhat unique in their scope and implications. The core of this particular controversy is the very idea that the Cloud Imperium Games is using microtransactions to acquire more funding for the game that has already smashed crowdfunding records and ranks high amongst the most expensive games ever. Some fans are concerned not only by the price of the individual transactions, some Star Citizen ships can cost over $1,000, but the ethics of selling such expensive content in a game that isn't completed and sometimes doesn't allow players to use the things they buy at the time they purchased it. The most infamous example of the latter instance is the time that the Star Citizen offered the chance to buy plots of digital real estate which didn't yet exist and wouldn't be accessible, but more on that later. Recently, fans also raised concern regarding the idea of Star Citizen becoming a pay-to-win experience. These concerns gained steam in 2018 when the Star Citizen team announced that they had removed the in-game currency cap. Chris Roberts noted that this wasn't an example of pay to win, as there is no specific win rate and that you win by having fun, but some fans wonder how this system and an apparent lack of safeguards will impact the PvP mechanics and community-driven features. In my opinion, very bad statements from Roberts continue, and he does not address the problem as he should, leaving people's questions unanswered. Star Citizen's money mismanagement claims and feature bloat. This is a broad controversy, but the bulk of this entry can be traced back to a 2019 Forbes article which offered a little bit more specific information on Star Citizen's money mismanagement concerns. This article focuses on how the Star Citizen team has spent its resources so far. While concerns over the said resources involve how developers were spending their time, one source said that Roberts was obsessed with micromanagement and continuously starting new ideas before old ones were finished. The bulk of report is about the game's finances. This is known as feature creep. Feature creep is the excessive ongoing expansion or addition of new features in a product, especially in computer software, video games, and consumer and business electronics. These extra features go beyond the basic function of the product and can result in software bloat and overcomplication, rather than a simple design. And this does seem very strange to have a huge company managing over 600 people to experience this, showing very bad management and leadership. The Crytek Lawsuit. Star Citizen experienced a lawsuit by Crytek in 2017, when Crytek sued the Star Citizen team over the use of CryEngine. Crytek argued that the Star Citizen team had broken their agreement regarding the use of the engine by effectively separating Squadron 42 and Star Citizen into separate projects. Crytek's lawsuit argued its license with Cloud Imperium only granted the Star Citizen developer the right to use CryEngine for one game. Since the agreement was made, however, development of Star Citizen had splintered off into two separate projects, Star Citizen and the standalone single-player story title Squadron 42. Things took a surprise turn when Crytek moved to dismiss its own lawsuit and rescheduled the trial. The company said it believed there was no point proceeding with the originally scheduled date, as it had learned Squadron 42 was not yet ripe, and questions surrounding the nature and timing of its release remained. The lawsuit was settled out in court in 2020 under the undisclosed terms. It does beg the question though, what money was CIG using, and how far Squadron 42 really was from its release? Again, we could easily send some lying to the community on when the Squadron 42 could be released. Star Citizen's code and server problems. With all the talk about how much Star Citizen remains unfinished, we don't always get to hear about the sections of the game that have been made playable. While there are certainly positive reactions among fans regarding what they've been able to play on the project, recent years have been an uptick in concerns regarding the game's code and server problems. It's hardly a surprise that the incomplete game has technical problems, but in this case of Star Citizen, some fans have questioned if the game is being built on fundamentally broken code that is just being added to rather than addressed. This Reddit post from a user that identifies themselves as a senior software developer does a really nice job of highlighting the finer technical points of this particular controversy. Generally speaking though, the basis of this concern is a debate over whether or not the Star Citizen team should be making more of an effort to improve the parts of the game that are playable, or if they should be focusing on the completion of the final product. Plot buying scheme. If microtransactions on buying ships weren't enough, CIG started to sell plots of land in the game that weren't even yet implemented. CIG said that the land rights, which cost $50 each, will entitle the purchaser to a single 4-kilometer square plot zoned for either commercial, residential, or industrial use. No date when the plots will be available in the game, but these purchases are only to fund the future development of the game, apparently. But who knows, maybe in 10 years we will see Star Citizen and Squadron 42 finally come out in its full glory, and you will finally be able to see your imaginary land. So, to conclude this video, Star Citizen still 10 years later seems like it will never come out. Maybe the lack of good management is going to nosedive it into the ground, or the technical debt that company seems to be in is going to spiral out of control. The amount of bugs the game has is also a bit worrying. But from the bright side, the game like always looks so promising. The experience is really unique, and I get why people are so in love with the game. But who knows what the future brings. Hopefully the fans don't get frustrated enough to leave the game and stop supporting it. The game is looking like they are putting everything on sale so that the players can buy with actual money, claiming it is for development, even things that haven't even been implemented yet, but we'll have to see how long the people will tolerate their typical corporate responses and virtual items. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please make sure you subscribe and leave a comment on what you think about the game, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.